How's it going, YouTube? Yeah, Pat Mac here, and I am joined by Ted. Ted, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ted. I'm your coach of the Sky Strikers.
And we're here to chat about power rankings for the Masters of Scarlet and Violet League over in TGR. Of course, you'll already know that because you're on the TGR YouTube channel right now, where we're gonna have power rankings for all the different leagues, and we'll have more stuff coming out for the TGR leagues. So definitely keep an eye on it. We'll also have playlists put together of all the different coaches that are recording in the TGR league. So if you don't want to miss any of the action from any of our TGR coaches or any of the TGR battles, then definitely subscribe to the channel, and you can check out playlists as we put them together for the different leagues and coaches here. So,
and make sure to check out our Twitter page. Make sure to subscribe. I'll be posting a few little updates on Twitter a bit. Also posting whenever a new video comes up on the YouTube channel. So if you want some early access to some stuff like that, then make sure to sub to there.
Perfect. Yep. And yeah, so a couple of different places to check out any TGR content. But well, you're here checking out the power rankings. So Ted and I are going to chat about the different teams that are here. And let me go and just explain a little bit about how this format works, because you may or may not be familiar with it at all. So singles leagues are always, 6v6, one Pokemon on the battlefield at a time. Doubles leagues are always like 4v4, best of 3, and 2 Pokemon on the battlefield at a time. Well, Masters of Scarlet and Violet is a marriage of those two formats. So our coaches are going to play a best of 3 match. It'll be 4v4 for each of the games, so they bring 6 and only choose 4 for the battle. And they'll play one singles match, one doubles match, and then the tiebreaker will alternate depending on the week. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's odd weeks is the singles tiebreaker and evens week is the double tiebreaker. It might be the opposite of that. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Basically, they play one singles match, one doubles match, and a tiebreaker that alternates between the two. Now, one thing to also keep in mind is that for playoffs, the coach that has the higher seed will get to decide the tie-breaking match. So there's a little bit more of a incentive to get the highest spot at the end of the regular season than most leagues, because honestly, for most leagues, it doesn't matter which spot you get. As long as you make playoffs, you have a chance of winning. And that's still the case here, but you get a little more control over your route to the finals if you have the highest seed, which is a nice little bonus. What do you think about that, Ted?
Yeah, it's not something that you usually see around in drafts, so yeah, it's very unique. I like it.
Yeah, and I think the whole format in and of itself is pretty unique. And so far, we've ran one season of this on Sword and Shield, and we've ran one tournament on it for the end of Sword and Shield, and it's been a pretty crazy format. It's been a lot of fun. So anyway, let's go and dive into this. We're going to be looking at the teams in draft order, and then at the end, I'll have a graphic that Ted has not seen yet. He has no idea what I put on here, but it's the list for my personal power rankings. And after our conversation, my power rankings after I do these videos is always like I always want to change it, but I'm gonna hold to it this time. All right, Ted, I'm gonna keep it the same as what I had.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm also going into blinded to this, so I've not looked at the Masters teams, so I'm just gonna say whatever comes at face value.
Perfect. All right, this is gonna be so exciting then. All right, so let's go and take a look at the first team here. So we have the Pogging Porygons, and I'll let you go ahead and take this first team, Ted. What are your first thoughts checking this out?
Okay, so as usual for this format, since it's a mix of both doubles and singles, I'm just gonna find a little middle ground between each team. So I can tell by the first pick, obviously there's Fluttermane, extremely strong in singles, is really broken. There was a reason why it was banned basically after I think a week or a few days in that format. So extremely strong first pick. Murkrow, really strong in the doubles format. Being able to set up Tailwind, Prankster Haze, Prankster Quash, all those useful tools extremely well in doubles. Garchomp, excellent doubles and singles Pokemon, just like Fluttermane. So a few different things that work around with this team. I guess like the one odd pick on OC Frey's team is probably that Stantler. Obviously, since it can use Eviolite, it's extremely bulky, has Intimidate, a lot of other useful tools. So just the one little odd pick on that team. But I think overall, I like the balance between both doubles and singles on this team, and a little few roaming strategies. I can tell already.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I guess I probably should explain the graphic a little bit more here. But you picked out that Fluttermane was the first pick, and Stantler's the last pick. And so Mousehold was the second pick that they made. And then it goes back up to the top where Murkrow was the third and kind of follows that path. So you can kind of see, like Salazzle was the sixth pick that they had. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think like Fluttermane plus Garchomp looks like an insanely strong pairing. Like one is a very strong special attacker. One's a really strong physical attacker. And I agree that like the two of them are like basically format all-stars in both singles and doubles, so they're probably going to be good for Masters. But yeah, I don't know. I think this team looks pretty cool. I think they have a lot of good options. The option for like Prankster Tailwind, like you mentioned, and then also to have Follow Me, that just not very many Pokemon have in this format. So Mousehold I think is really pretty cool too.
Only 3 Pokemon get Follow Me currently.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? And so he managed to pick up one of them, and I think this team is going to be pretty sweet. All right, let's go and take a look at this next team. So next we have the Turtle Club Torkles, and yeah, I don't know. I remember looking at this team and thinking like, wow, that's a lot of ghost types. We have like the ghost type from Annihilate, the ghost type from Mimikyu, and the ghost type from Gengar. And then there's also quadruple water types. We have Iron Bundle, who's a water ice. We have Cloyster, who's a water ice type. And then Veluza, who's water psychic. And Wugtrio, who's a water type as well. So, I don't know. I kind of think this team is suffering a bit from diversity. Like, I think that they have some really strong Pokemon. Like, don't get me wrong. But I think that, like, with draft and the counter teaming strategy, like, if you just bring like a dark type, or if you bring like a ghost type, or if you bring an electric type, like you're gonna be able to shut down so many of these different Pokemon, just because like I don't think aside from Jolteon there is no electric resist, and so there's a lot of pressure on Jolteon to kind of cover for all these water types, and that Pokemon just isn't very bulky. So like if we're talking about like a singles match, that can't really switch in every time an electric attack is going to come in, because if they decide to go for a different coverage move, even if it's just a neutral hit on Jolteon, like that Pokemon's going to take a lot of damage. So I don't know. I think this Pokemon is struggling a little bit from too much type, same typing, and I think it's going to struggle a little bit in its matchups from week to week, just because like you just bring like 1 or 2 coverage moves and you can kind of hit everything on the team. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think one of the main things that this team suffers from is that there's a lot of good pieces like Gengar, Talonflame, Iron Bundle, and Annihilate. Like all those Pokemon are good on their own, but they don't exactly like mesh well together. So probably either like during trades or mid-season trades, I would probably like to see a few more types, like a grass type or a ground type on this team, just so like there's a little bit more mesh that's holding the team together. And like you mentioned, like Jolteon being the only Pokemon that either resisting or immune to electric type is kind of bad defensively. But again, like there's still plenty of good useful tools on this team, so we'll just have to see what goes on during the regular season.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess I kind of went at this team a little hard, but they do have some really cool tools. Like I like the Mimikyu and the Talonflame. I think both those Pokemon are great for speed control. We're talking about those doubles matches. Like we saw the last team had Prankster Tailwind with Murkrow. This one has, I guess it's not technically called Prankster, right? But it's like Gale Wings, right? So you get the extra boost on your Tailwind with Talonflame, which is honestly amazing. And then Mimikyu is just one of the best Trick Room setters out there. It's just kind of too bad there's no Pokemon that takes advantage of Trick Room. I don't think I really noticed that until now, but like they have that option to set Trick Room on a very, very reliable Mon, but Nothing that really wants to be in Trick Room. A lot of these Pokemon are pretty quick.
Yeah, I think the slowest thing is probably the Slitherwing, maybe. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
Cloyster might be slower, but yeah, it's a pretty quick team overall, actually. So, all right, let's go and take a look at our next team here. This is the Townsville Tyranitar, and let's go and talk about this one, Ted.
Okay, so first thing off, Grimmsnarl, good in doubles with Prankster Screens, Prankster Parting Shot, which is its new move this generation, but it can also be good in singles for that same reason. A good double strat I see is the Chilly Reception with Slowking paired up with that Beartic. Beartic gained a lot of good useful tools this generation, as Close Combat now, Earthquake, just to name a few moves. It has a decent Tricker mode with that Bronzong and Clogsire. Probably not the most reliable Trick Room sweeper or Trick Room, being able to utilize Trick Room pretty well, but it's there for that option. Raichu and Raichu and Noivern being part of their fast mode with Tailwind, Fake Out, Nuzzle, stuff like that. In those final three Pokemon at the end, Passimian provides like a Defiant, like Deterring, Intimidate, and stuff like that. Ditto is always good to copying other Pokemon like Fluttermane, Iron Hands, stuff like that, being an immediate threat with that. And Zangoose is good for Terrestrialization with Terra Normal, with Toxic Boost and Facade, and that's extremely dangerous in both formats.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this team looks pretty cool. Like, it has good fast mode, has good slow mode. It has that weather combo that you mentioned, which I think would be really cool. I think Beartic got a lot stronger this gen. I'm really excited to see Razorclaw pick that up, because I think that Mon has become... Well, I mean, Titan is probably the best the best snow sweeper, but I feel like Beartic might be up there. I'm really excited to see what he does with this Mon, because I tried it last gen and it was not exciting, but I think it got, like you mentioned, a couple moves it got. Pokemon looks a lot stronger, and I think overall, I think the team looks pretty strong too. There's a lot of options, just like you mentioned. I just want to point out Grimmsnarl again, because that Pokemon is just so good. Getting access to Prankster Parting Shot makes this Pokemon an absolute menace. I'm pretty excited to see Razor pick it up early, because I think it's just one of those Pokemon that you can run. You can kind of run the same sets for singles or doubles, and it's going to work either way. And I think that's a really cool option for this, is because they are going to use the same team for both their singles and doubles matches. There's no changing it, having like one team for singles and one team for doubles. Like, you got to bring the same 6 every time, and I think Grimmsnarl is a really nice option to have for that, to give them that Mon that's going to work kind of no matter what set you pick in either format, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. All right, let's go take a look at our next team here. So we have the Brooklyn Mantikes, coached by New. And I remember I looked at this team as I was putting all the graphics together, and I was like, what the hell is this? This looks so strong. How did this happen? I mean, like, Pincurchin being able to support the Iron Moth with, what's the ability called? Quark Drive, I think? Is that what it is? Yep. Yeah, Quark Drive, just being able to activate without the booster energy is just going to be absolutely crazy. And then Magnezone and Electric Terrain is, oh my god. I don't remember, is Rising Voltage in the game still, or was that just...
No, it got removed because it's Isle of Armor tutor move, I think.
So sad. Oh man, the graphic on that move was so good last gen. Oh well, anyway, but yeah, even just in Electric Terrain without Rising Voltage, still going to be an absolute crazy nightmare to deal with. And those are just like some of the special attackers, but then they have like some really strong physical attackers. Of course, you gotta prep for Palafin. Like, what is it, 160 base attack is just absolutely nuts. And then they also have Brute Bonnet. I think Brute Bonnet like kind of ties this team really nicely together. It being able to have Spore and Rage Powder is just going to be so nice on such a bulky Pokemon. I have a feeling that that one might be the terrestrialized target to give them a better defensive typing, to be able to support the team with rage powders in those doubles matches. But I mean, it's got a crazy good attack stat with some priority, so I think it's going to be a pretty strong option for the team. What do you think about this team, Ted?
Yeah, obviously, I think this team is a little bit more singles based just by looking at it on face value. But there's definitely good doubles options. Palafin obviously really strong in singles, with that base 160 attack with Jet Punch, Bulk Up, Wave Crash, and like you mentioned, like Pincurchin paired up with the Iron Moth or Magnezone Electric Terrain is gonna do a lot of damage. Cyclizar with a Shed Tail, being able to set up Substitute and just switch out into another Pokemon like Palafin or the Brute Bonnet is really good. And moving to Brute Bonnet, having that high base 127 attack paired with Sucker Punch is going to do a lot, especially in singles or in doubles. In those last three obscure Pokemon, or I can't say obscure Pokemon, the Masquerain, Espeon, and the Wigglytuff have all their uses. Obviously, Masquerain with like Intimidate, Espeon with Magic Bounce for singles, bouncing off those Stealth Rock spikes, and Wigglytuff has its uses with Competitive and its other tools. So overall, I think it's a really good balanced team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has some pretty cool options. We didn't mention that Masquerain has webs as well. I think it's only like one of 3 Pokemon that have webs. I think it's like
Spidops and Kricketune are the other 2, I think.
Yeah. So like that's also a really nice option too. Like this team has some pretty good speed, and you add webs to this, and like now your choice scarfers aren't outspeeding some of their mons, which is that's a problem. that's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
All right, let's go and take a look at this next team here. So we have the Old Blood, and what do you think about this team, Ted?
First off, Dondozo and Texagiri is an extremely broken combo. Ideally in doubles, not in singles. That's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to access that commander ability and just get the +2 in attack, defense, and special attack, and special defense, I think, is really useful. Obviously, this team has redirection with that Pachirisu with Follow Me, but it has other useful tools like Eerie Impulse, Nuzzle, Charm, and those main front hitters with the Masquerada and the Tinkaton are really strong. Even though Tinkaton has a low base attack stat, Gigaton Hammer is still going to do a lot. And Masquerada with Flower Trick, being able always to crit every time, is great. And like the previous team, it has Sticky Webs with the Spidops, so that's really good for speed control. And I'm not really a big fan of Mabostif, I think that's how you say it, but it still has really good abilities with Guard Dog and Intimidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this team is pretty cool. It kind of feels like a very middle of the road team in terms of like, there's no Pokemon aside from like Meowscarada that like really stands out to me. And then of course there's the Dondozo Tatsugiri pairing that's really strong. But aside from like kind of those 3 mons, I'm almost gonna say those 2, like Meowscarada and Dondozo. Like there's nothing on the team that like I look at this team and I'm just scared, you know, like I'm thinking about the last team we looked at, and like Iron Moth, Palafin, like I look at those mons and I'm like, I legitimately am going to be scared while I prep against that, you know? And I look at this and go like, okay, well, if I can deal with Masquerada, then I'll be all right. If I can have some kind of like clear smog or haze, like I'll be able to deal with Dondozo. So I think this team is kind of like, I don't know, it kind of hits me as like as nothing stands out as being too strong on it. But all the pieces work, you know, like I think all the mons are individually kind of middle of the road in terms of their strength, and there's nothing that feels weak on this team.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let's go and chat about the next team we have here. The Sacramento Sandslash. That's me. Okay, so let me let me go and chat a little bit about my team, and and then I'll have you share some comments as well. So, okay, I'm super excited for this team. I'm so hyped. Okay, so Roaring Moon and Gholdengo, just having those two Pokemon, I think alone makes this team like pretty strong. Like having those two mons cover each other's weaknesses so well and hit each other's like defensive checks really well too. They both have recovery. They both have setup. So like those two mons I think are going to be really strong for me this season. And then I think I paired it around with like some really good offensive threats. Like I want to say my first 5 picks carry a lot of offensive pressure on teams and have like some defensive utility to some extent. I found this out while I was building the team, but I'm very sad that Rotom lost Defog. I thought I had like better hazard game in my first couple of picks, but I really had to pick up some more hazards later on. And then the Grafai Slacking combo for those doubles games, being able to doodle away Truant is gonna be okay. I'm so excited for that one. I think that's gonna be so cool. So I'm pretty excited to try out that combination. And then I mostly picked up the other months for some more hazard support. But I've used like Sandaconda in the past, and I've loved that one. So I think it's gonna be a pretty cool team. I'm excited to use it at least. Okay, okay. Enough of me gushing about my team. Tell me what's wrong with it, Ted.
No, there's nothing really wrong about this team. But I definitely see a lot of setup. Roaring Moon, Azumarill, and the Gholdengo, all those three having Dragon Dance, Nasty Plot, and Belly Drum specifically. I think all those moves to those mons are really good in singles. Obviously, Fortress, probably being your main rapid spinner, is really good. I used it a lot back in Gen 6. So I'm excited to see that back again in Gen 9. Mm-hmm. Super unfortunate that the Rotom forms lost the fog, but I think they're still good with boots and singles, being able to volt switch and spam overheat and switching back out. So yeah, that's a decent core right there. And like you mentioned before, like with Grafai and Slacking, that's a really strong combo of doubles. I've lost to it on the doubles ladder, so I have respect for it. So yeah, that's something that other coaches have to keep in mind about that. And Gallade gained a new ability this generation with Sharpness, so being able to boost moves like Psycho Cut, Night Slash, all those cutting moves is definitely great for Gallade.
Yeah, that's like the main reason I picked it up, honestly. Like I saw it got Sharpness, and I've always been a huge fan of Gallade just because it's like, it feels like the Swiss Army knife of drafts. Like it feels like it has all the coverage that you need, and has speed control. Like I think I got agility this gen, and it's always had Trick Room, so I don't know. I'm pretty excited for that mon. I didn't even mention it with all the other ones. I don't know. There's so many fun tools in this team. I'm so excited for it. All right, let's take a look at our next team here. So in the Middle Village at Piedoves, and what do you think about this team, Ted?
Okay, so first thing that jumps off to me is that Corviknight, extremely broken in singles, still having Defog, and Tailwind, or it gained Tailwind this generation, which is really good in singles, a little bit in singles, but more for doubles. Being able to click Iron Defense and Body Press, being able to still do that, and overall really bulky. Paired up with that Morgrem, which just like Grimmsnarl, it gets Parting Shot this generation. So being able to do that and just spam that every single game is great. Iron Valiant is probably the main focus on this team. Being able to hit both on the special side and on the physical side is really good, and having useful tools on both ends is really great. Esperado, being able to use speed boost in singles, and just click protect and just sit there and get that speed boost and be able to set up is really great. And also with its other ability, forgot its other ability, but no, it's
it has Opportunist and Frisk.
Opportunist. Being able to switch in to a Pokemon like Dondozo or any other Pokemon that's set up, being able to steal the stats and just hit hard straight away is great. Scarlet and the forgot the Tentacruel.
Oh,
Not
Toadscruel.
Tentacruel. Yeah, Toadscruel.
Yeah.
I think those two Pokemon together are great. In doubles, Mercurial might be able to hit Goldango with a Spore is great. And Cerulege being able to set up like Swords Dance and just click Bitter Blade, every time is great as well. So yeah, a lot of useful tools on this team. I think it's probably one of the more unique teams I've seen so far, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like they have triple fairy type. I think between Iron Valiant, Sylveon, and Morgrem. So, I mean, fairy type is like one of the best types in the game, right? So, it's a pretty nice option to have all those three. But then they have like a good steel type switch in with Corviknight. Just being able to switch into those steel attacks and being able to body press to hit the steals is really nice too. So I don't know. I think this team is pretty cool. I agree with a lot of what you said. And they have like good hazard game. Well, actually, I don't know how much hazard setting they have. It might just be Toadscruel. I think has like spikes and toxic spikes.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, so I guess teams that that are playing against this one don't really have to worry about hazards against them, but actually Oldram has quite a few ways to get rid of hazards too. So I have a feeling that hazards are not going to be part of the game for most of the singles matches against this team, just because like there's so many different ways to get rid of hazards here between like double rapid spinners on Tentacruel, not Tentacruel, I did it too, Toadscruel,
yeah.
and Creogonal, and then Defog on Corviknight as well too. So yeah, I don't know, it's a pretty cool team though. I agree with a lot of what you said there, and I'm excited to see how Iron Valiant does, because I think that mon is like, in my opinion, it's like probably like top 4 of the new mons that we've got, and yeah, there's a lot of really good ones, so that's kind of saying something. Alright, let's talk about the next one. So speaking of Tentacruel, we have the Tentacruel Pirates here. And let me go and chat about this team, because I think it's got a couple of really strong options here. There's some pretty noticeable offensive threats, right? Dragapult, Great Tusk, Garganacl, Gyarados, like all those Pokemon are really, really solid offensive mons. And then Venomoth, which okay, so when we did a singles tier list, I had Venomoth like hella low, and when we were looking over it, somebody told me like, wait, this one has tinted lens, like why is this so low? I was like, oh, so it's neutral against everything, and it has Quiver Dance. Okay, new respect. So yeah, I mean that mon's been around forever, but I've only played Gen 8, so didn't know about that. But yeah, so I think this team has a lot of really strong options. It's got a couple different Trick Room setters between Klefki and Spiritomb, and that's mostly, I think, going to be able to set up for the Garganacl if they decide to go with something like that. But they have great hazard game. Klefki, I believe, still has spikes. They have some Prank Dirt screens here. Great Tusk has hazards. I believe it has rocks. Not sure about spikes, but I know it has rapid spin as well. And then they also have some really nice options for doubles in terms of the jump left, having, I believe it has Tailwind and Rage Powder, so some pretty sweet options there. And also I'm really excited to see how Palmot does. Having Revival Blessing to be able to bring back something like your Great Tusk or your Dragapult, and be able to try to like sweep the game a second time, I think is going to be pretty crazy. And yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty excited for this team. I think it's got a lot of really strong options. Some great setup threats, some good defensive mons. I think it'd be pretty cool. What do you think about this one?
So coming back to the Trick Room mode with Klefki, I guess the one main thing to think about is that Trick Room doesn't get boosted from Prankster. It's still -7 in the priority bracket, so that's something that opponents could take advantage of and just click Fake Out or Taunt into it and just stop it immediately from setting up Trick Room. So that's something that DJ would, I assume DJ has thought about already. But I think overall the team looks great. Dragapult and the Paradoxorn Dolphin. I don't know why I keep forgetting these names. Yeah, Great Tusk.
Yeah.
Those two Pokemon alone in both doubles and singles are extremely great. Dragapult being able to hit strong on both sides, click Specs Dragon Meteor or Specs Thunderbolt, has great coverage. And is a great support mon overall. It still has OLOS, has screams. So some other things they could use. Garganackle obviously is great in Trick Room. Having Recover, Iron Defense, Body Press, just a good like Pokemon to use in stall or in singles as well. So great stuff from that. Jump Up is a great low tier pick. Having access to Tailwind this generation, being able to use Infiltrator, Sleep Powder, and go through Protect is great. And like you mentioned, Palmot with its move Revival Blessing, be able to revive its fallen Pokemon, either Great Tusk or Dragapult or Gyarados. Being able to sweep a second time, like you said, is really good. And Venomoth with Tinted Lens being able to or Tinted Lens and the other move that stops secondary effects. I forgot its ability. But it does stop Fake Out in doubles, so you can ignore that and just set up a Quiver Dance, and being able to sweep is really great.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty strong team. There's a lot of really strong options here. Okay, next one we have is the LA Infernape, and what do you think about this team, Ted?
Okay, so definitely a good singles comp here with the Donphan and Scizor. I think that's a great defensive core. Donphan obviously provides Rapid Spin, Stealth Rocks, and Scizor gains Defog this generation, so it can do that as well. The double starters is also a really good comp as well. It's something that I would like to run in draft sometime, with the Skeledirge having Unaware is really great and has really good defensive stats as well, or usable defensive stats. So being able to ignore stuff like Dundos though, or any other setup mon is great. Chimpao in doubles is great paired up with the Scizor or the Quick Quavel, being able to lower defense and allow your other strong hitters to hit even harder is great. And Kilowattrel provides that Tailwind, and Wind Power boosts its electric type attacks. So obviously a lot of great synergy there. Trick Room mode is a little bit obscure, but Gothorita is a good Trick Room setter anyways with Eviolite, Fake Out. So a great supporting option there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think this team's got a lot of good options too. One thing I will want to add to that though is Scizor lost Roost this gen, which is a little unfortunate, but I think it gained a couple of offensive options. Close Combat is the one move I remember that comes to mind. But yeah, this team is pretty cool. I think it's got a lot of really strong options, like you mentioned, between having fast mode and slow mode, some good support options, some good like high tier defensive options, high tier threats, and Chimpao being able to drop defenses, like you mentioned. For even the singles matches are going to be good too, because that Pokemon hits so hard. But doubles matches, like you mentioned, I think are going to be pretty cool too. So yeah, pretty sweet team as well. All right, let's go take a look at our next one here. And we have the Barcelona Malamads. And okay, so this man drafted Torkoal and Chi-Yu in his first couple of picks, and I remember looking at this when I was drafting and going, oh god, please no. Like a mon with, I want to say it's called like Beads of Ruin, that drops the special defense, along with having some insane special attackers like Torkoal. In Sun, Chi-Yu in Sun is gonna be so crazy. And then Oranguru being able to instruct those attacks again to get that heavy damage output. This team is a menace. This team is a menace in doubles. In singles, I think it still has some options, but I think for the most part, the doubles options for this team are absolutely terrifying. Between just those first 4 picks with Lilligant as well, being able to after you an Eruption or something like that. And then Gastrodon kind of helps to tie that Fire, Water, Grass core together to be able to switch in on those water type moves really well. So what do you think about this team, Ted?
Yeah, definitely a common theme in draft currently. Drafting that combo between Torkoal and Lilligant and the Chiyu. So
Hmm.
not really surprised there with that. Um, I think like the lower tier picks like Persian and Electros are really great backup options as well, being provide fake outs, Snarl and Charm, some useful tools that again this generation.
Hmm.
Um, Electros is a good physical attacker, basically being immune to everything if you decide to terastallize it. Having Levitate to ignore grounding moves is great as usual. Um, Earthworm, I guess it's a little bit iffy on this team. I guess you can spam Earthquake on probably the Iron Junglist. I think it gets at that. But other than that, it's not really doing that much. But Shed Tail is still great in singles. So, being able to set up with the Lilligant and Sun with Quiver Dance behind a Shed Tail is great.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess like the final pick with the Iron Junglist, I don't see too much usage, I guess, from into this team. It's not really that great in both formats, but I'm willing to give it a shot and see how well it does in this draft.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how it does too. It has some kind of nice options. If I remember right, it has Snarl, which I think you mentioned Persian has, so like maybe a little bit of double dipping in there. But having the dark typing, I think I'd rather have something else there, because I think Shiyu being that dark type already just gives you such a stronger dark type that like if you're really looking for that option in your team building, like I don't know if you necessarily need Iron Juglist as well, but it might also have Tailwind. It might have Tailwind also. I don't,
Yeah,
don't quote me
I
on
think
that,
it
but
does.
yeah, it would be kind of nice to have like an Earthquake abuser to help out with the Earthworm, because I think that like Earthworm plus Earthquake Mon is so strong, and then his team doesn't really have something like that. But you could also pair it with Electros too. So right, Electros, Earthworm plus an Earthquake Mon would be a nice option for this team. Okay, let's go and take a look at the next one here. So we have the Atlanta Talonflames. And what are your thoughts on this team, Ted?
Okay, so first off, right off the bat, Excalibur is great in singles. Being able to utilize Dragon Dance and just set up once and sweep entire teams is great. Iron Treads, really good with the Quark Drive with booster energy. Since there's no electric terrain on this team, so most likely expecting a booster energy from that. Being able to get an immediate attack boost or any other boost is great. Setting up Stealth Rocks, Rapid Spin, Spikes. Um, Arboliva is a little bit of an odd pick, just because you don't really want to get hit by a physical move and set up Seed Sour. Because even then, like if it gets hit by a strong fighting type move or a strong fire type move, it's just going to go down. So that's something that the Talonflames have to consider as well. Um, no psychic terrain, so Armrouge can't spam Expanding Force, but I think it'll still be great as singles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's that. Rhythm Wash, obviously a great singles pick, a great doubles pick as well. Metacham with skill swapping around huge power, probably either into Excalibur or that Iron Treads is great. Heracross is a great low tier pick as well. Um, Using like Scarf, Choice Band, Close Combat, Rock Slide, Mega Horn. And Frostlass provides good speed control with Icy Wind, Thunder Wave, a few moves there. So overall, I think it's a great balanced team. A little bit frail on some sides, but I think this team is going to do fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's got some strong options. I like the Fire, Water, Grass core between Rotom Wash, Armrouge, and Arboliva. I think they kind of cover each other pretty well. Actually, especially Armrouge and Arboliva, right? Like you talked about the fighting type attacks coming in, or the fire type attacks coming in on Arboliva, and Armrouge switches into those pretty nicely, just with that that flash fire immunity plus being a psychic type, being able to take those hits pretty well. I think one thing I'm kind of low on this team is that I don't know how like Lycanroc feels off to me. You know, like you want to see that Pokemon with sand, and this team just doesn't. I don't even think has the option of setting sand aside from Lycanroc itself. But then we have like double ice types, which isn't amazing, and double fighting types, which is eh. So I think that this team could probably switch out a few of those options. But being able to skill swap, like you said, sounds pretty exciting with Betijam. I don't know what you'd skill swap onto though, because like the thermal exchange from Excalibur is such a good ability, and then Quark Drive for Iron Treads is already really good too, and Heracross has really amazing abilities as well. So I don't know. I'm not sure there's a Mon that like really wants to be skill swapped pure power, but it could be an option. I think you're right about that being an option for this team. But I just kind of like the abilities that all those other physical Mons have already. Yeah. Okay. Last team we have here is the McChesney Park Slowpokes, and we're going to chat about this team a little bit. So they have a pretty good team. Like I like the options they have here. They have a lot of good physical attacking threats, a lot of good special attacking threats, and some good setup, right? Dragon Dance on the Dragonite with priority extreme speed with Terra Normal, I know is like a very common single strategy that's showing up on like high OU ladder. Being able to have Glamora just to be able to set up stuff right at the beginning with that toxic debris and all the plethora of different hazard options that it has. I think it might have everything except webs. Yeah, I think it has everything except webs, which is kind of nuts. Yeah. So really great options, I think, for the singles matches there. And then Sableye, I think, is kind of the glue that holds this team together for the doubles matches. That great support option for that Mon is fantastic. Arcanine can kind of fill that role as a supportive option. I think Gardevoir can do it a little bit too. So there's a handful of different options for doubles that I kind of like. And some nice singles options too. Some good priority on this team. So yeah, I think like being able to set up against this team is going to be a little tough because you got to deal with all the different priority options that they have to be able to just hit Pokemon so hard with all the different abilities. But I am a little concerned about the weaknesses on the team. I think there's like the quadruple ground weaknesses from both Lamora and Toxtricity, which is a little scary. And then Arcanine has that ground weakness too. And I guess low kicks resist ground and then Dragonite's immune to it, but like I don't know if those are like your heavy hitters or your sweepers, like you don't necessarily want to use those as your switch-ins to any attacks that you see coming. So I think that there's some hesitancy, I guess, around some of the defensive switch-ins for this team. But honestly, if you just play an offensive game with hazards at the beginning, maybe it's not a problem, which I know that Prater likes to do. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the team?
Okay, so first things first, I really like the Frostmoth pick on this team. Not only because it's been getting usage on the doubles ladder since they won a tournament, but I think it works well. You know, having Tailwind, having Quiver Dance, Icicle Scales, with Terastallization is great. Being able to like Terra Water or Terra Fire is great. Inspects Boom Burst with the
Terra Normal?
Terra Normal, Boom Burst specs with the Toxtricity next to Sableye is really strong. It's something that I've been seeing a little bit in draft. And obviously Terra Normal on Dragonite is great as well with the extreme speed. Glimora is an excellent wall in singles. Having Corrosion and Toxic Debris are both great abilities. So being able to Toxic into Steel types is great. And Toxic Debris, getting hit by those physical moves, being able to tank that and set up Toxic Spikes immediately is obviously a great option. Quagsire with Unaware, ignoring stuff like Dondozo or any other setup Pokemon is great. So yeah, a lot of useful tools, and Sableye does gain double screens this generation, so that's something that everybody has to watch out for.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, I didn't realize it got screens this gen. That's very exciting actually, because that means like there's a lot of setup threats on this team too. So being able to get screens up from Sableye that's kind of terrifying actually. Ooh, wow, that's really scary.
Yeah.
What the heck? Okay, well that was the last team. So the next graphic that we have for you here is going to be what I have as the power rankings, and we'll get your reactions, Ted, on this, and then yeah, that'll probably wrap us up for the video. So, all right, here you go. So here's the power rankings. So let me kind of explain a little bit of the graphic here. So I have the Tentacruel Pirates as the #1 spot. And then just like with the Pokemon order, so the Agency I have as #2, Infernapes, LA Infernapes I have as #4, and then the Turtle Club Torkoals I have as the last spot. So you can kind of see the ordering that we have here. Works the same way as the draft order from the Pokemon, just with the exception of that first slot being up in the very top left corner because there weren't enough little Pokeballs there. So anyway, okay, thoughts here. What do you like?
Okay, yeah, I mostly agree with everything you have there. I guess you could move around the lower end teams a little bit, but I think everything's pretty balanced there. Kind of surprised that you placed yourself around the mid section. I think you can move yourself a little bit higher, but I guess people can look at that as a bias there, but that's just me saying that. But yeah, I think overall, I like your power rankings there.
Legit, I'm always so bad at placing myself. Like I always tend to place myself around the middle, and then we get to these, and I think it happens every time I do a power ranking. You know, the person I'm with is like, your team should be higher up, and I'm like, but look at the other teams, they're so scary. So I don't know. I probably could move myself up a little bit, but like I look at the team, like the Barcelona Malamaz with that like crazy sun combo, and that team is terrifying. And then you got Fluttermane and Garchomp higher up there too. I don't know, man. All the teams are hella scary, so
yeah,
it's really tough. It was really tough for me to rank them. And even like the lower tier teams, like I think the Turtle Club Torkoals got some things that they got to fix up on their team. I think we talked about that, like the like glaring weaknesses in Electric, plus I want to say there was something else. I don't remember off the top of my head, but just like not enough type diversity. And like I have the Old Blood is kind of low down there too, but like that team is scary. Like it feels like you have to prep for every mon, and that's not always something that you have to do in Draft League. Is that you know, sometimes you can kind of ignore some of the lower tier threats because like they're just going to bring a couple support options, and like you'll naturally be able to deal with those with the rest of your prep. But the Old Blood has a team that has such a wide variety of options, and it feels like every mon could come to every game. You know, like they have that very like middle of the road feeling team, and like I have it lower on here just because like some of the other teams feel like they have like really high power threats that you got to be concerned about. But even still, like I think that their team is really good. So that's like I have that bottom 3, and I still think that team is awesome. So that just kind of goes to show how strong all the teams are in this league.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's going to be the end of our power rankings here. Definitely leave a comment with us with what do you think of the power rankings we have? What order would you give? Is there any team that really stands out to you that you're really excited to see? Maybe that coach is a content creator. And you can check out our playlist that we'll put together for all the different creators that we have. But yeah, what team are you excited to see? What Pokemon really stands out to you on a team? Whatever it is, right? Whatever you want to say about the power rankings, definitely leave us a comment. And of course, if you'd like to see some more TGR content, definitely like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See you later, guys.